Black American. I have 3 children. I am a Black mom.
Okay, so let's get it poppin'. So, what is your first memory of race? And basically, like, where you understood what race was?
I think I always knew I was Black, but there being a difference probably when I was like 11 or 12 because I had moved to a new area and I was the only Black girl in my class when I had moved. So that's when I noticed that there was a difference just based off of the way I looked and just like, certain mannerisms that the other people had that I didn't necessarily have. So that's when I was really aware of, wow, I'm Black.
So, what was that like for you?
Well, there was a lot of reasons why I moved. So there was a lot of tension as far as how I viewed white people based off of why we moved. But it was weird because I felt like I had to be the good girl all of the time so that I didn't look like the stereotype that people seen on TV or
Mm.
so that I was different, just like, oh, she's a good Black girl, like you don't have to worry about her. I felt like I always had to be on, if that makes sense.
Mm. So, with all of that, did you teach your children about race? And if you did, at what age?
My children are young. My daughter is 5, my son is 4, and this son is 1. They
Mm.
are very aware of the color of their skin, but we don't really talk about race yet. Honestly, there's not a specific reason. I just want to keep their innocence as long as possible because there's so much racial tension that I don't want to put that on them yet. The time will come, and at 5 and 4, I think they should just be able to be free.
I agree. So, do you have a story where maybe they realized their race, so they're kind of at the school age? Did they ever come home and mention their complexion or anything like that?
Not necessarily. My daughter is very aware of the color of people because our family is very diverse, so she knows like different shades of brown. And we live in an area where there are a lot of Hispanic people, so she'll say that, "Mommy, that girl is brown like me, but she doesn't speak English like me." Or she'll say that there's another brown girl in my class and she looks like and so will be our cousin. So she's aware of the different shades of people, not necessarily an in-depth thing about them.
And how do you respond to that? Like when she says, "Oh, they don't speak English" or something like that, how do you respond?
I just kind of laugh because she's so innocent in it, and I try to explain to her that they just speak a different language because their families are from different countries, but she doesn't really grasp the concept of different countries or things like that yet. So I just, everyone could speak a different language. Maybe their moms or their grandmas speak a certain way, but everyone in our family speaks English, so she doesn't really understand that.
So they're so young, they haven't really had any experiences or stories or negative. I'm sorry, y'all, that is kind of loud in the background, but they don't have any stories yet. Do you feel like, in fact, it is yet that they will experience something, or are you hopeful that maybe they can go without having negative experiences of their race?
um, it's my hope that it's the latter, that they'll be able to not experience those negative things. I would like to keep them in areas that are very diverse so they don't have situations where they're put in the spotlight like I was. But unfortunately, with the racial tension, I feel like it's going to be a while, and that it hasn't happened yet, and it will happen at some point. But for now, we haven't experienced any negative racial things at this age.
So you mentioned that you would like to keep them in diverse areas so they don't have the spotlight.
Right.
Do you wish your parents or your mom or whoever, do you wish they thought of that as well?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I feel like I was always the token Black girl in so many situations, and it put a lot of unnecessary pressure on me and a lot of anxieties that I carried on into adulthood, that I necessarily wouldn't have had if I would have been able to simply be, as opposed to having to to be aware enough to realize that I was the token black person. That puts a lot of unnecessary pressure on you, and you don't really realize it until you grow up and you carry the same characteristics in your day-to-day function of trying to be perfect or being good, not being a stereotype. That definitely put a lot of pressure on me.
Do you have one story that you feel really impacted you, or just actually something that just comes to mind right away?
It's sad, but I mean, I can give two stories, I guess. Like, I had a friend when I was younger. Well, we're still acquaintances to this day, but her dad had gotten married, and the new stepmom had a mixed child, and the mixed child was black and white, and his father left her and treated her so bad, and that was something that she carried over with her. So when she met me, the token black girl, with the token black family, her response to my friend was, "You can't be friends with those black people. They aren't good people." Mind you, I had known my friend for years, and the stepmom was a new person in the situation, but that was her response to us being black, and that was so hurtful. That was the only time I had ever cried, and I was in high school, and it just broke me so much, because I'm like, you don't even know me, and like, I try really hard to be a good black person. Like, you don't even know how hard I try to be a good person, and for her not to be able to be my friend simply because of the color of my skin. And even at that time, it had seemed like it was so far away from racial segregation. That was in 2004, I think. And it felt like we had been so far past that. So to have someone, like, for someone to say that to me, like, and it gets sent back, it hurt so bad. It hurt so bad. I still think about that sometimes. Like, what would I do if someone said that to my kid? Like, it hurt. But that was, like, one racial story. Another, this one is trash. I don't know. I was in high school again, and it was Black History Month, and if whoever watching this has ever been the only black person in any situation,
Y'all
Black
know.
History,
Y'all
know
know
what Black History Month is like. And we were talking about Ruby Bridges, and my teacher gonna say to me, she gonna say to me, "Tracy," oh, that's my name, "Tracy, that you would be Ruby Bridges." And I was just like,
No, they did not.
I was like, what? Like, so if I'm Ruby Bridges, who are you? The racist teacher that refuses to teach the black kid? The people protesting on the sideline with the black girl going to the school?
Really not okay.
I was 14, and I was so...
14?
I was like, what? Ruby Bridges was younger than me. Like, I still think about it to this day, trying to figure out what she was trying to say to me. Because I was like, if I'm Ruby Bridges, who are you? Because Ruby Bridges is the good person in this story. Everybody else is trash. So are you trash? Like, am I not really welcomed here in this all white school? Yeah, that's something that really, that's something that really sticks out to me. That was, yeah, I don't know. That was wild.
Really too much.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, that was rough.
Okay, so how do you think being a black mom may be different from being a white mom in America?
I can say this fully. It's like, I have young children, and you see white moms and their young kids, and they kids be wilding in the store. They be falling out. They be screaming. They be calling their mothers by their first names. They be telling them to shut up, slapping them. "No, I'm not gonna do this, Mom." And me as a first of all, no, not as my child, not me as a child to my mother. So that, to me, that's like a big difference. Just the way, like, and I understand positive parenting and nurturing and all that stuff, but sometimes those little kids be doing too much. And I'm not talking about disabled children who cannot control themselves. I'm talking about children just throwing a tantrum because they can't get what they want to get. My children would never, could never, will never. No. That's a big difference, just like in my immediate day-to-day activity prior to COVID, just seeing that in the stores, and I just be like, do you need help? Do you want me to, that's how I feel. Like, I'm just being honest, because it's wild to me that people, and then again, I grew up as the token black girl. So I seen this a lot. I experienced this a lot. And it's just wild. That's something that I definitely...
He agrees.
He's like, not my mama.
All right, this is the last question.
Okay.
What do you think America could learn from black moms?
I think endurance.
Mm-hmm.
And as mothers in general, we wear a lot of hats, but I feel like being a black mother has so many different levels to it, because we're already having the challenges of being a mom, which we all know, but we're also dealing with generational trauma that we're trying to overcome, and not trying to instill those trauma responses in our kids. And that is a lot of work, especially when it's like racial traumas that the world is still trying to instill in us as adults. Like, how do I instill my black sons not to have the same anxieties and fears that their father has when black men are still being targeted in the streets? How do I instill strength in my black daughter when black women are being targeted and killed for speaking their mind? How do I teach her to be a strong, independent thinker without stepping on people's toes, because the world doesn't really care what black women have to say? But I can't raise my kids based off of my trauma responses. I have to really dig deep and try to do something better, but it's really hard because it's like the world doesn't really care. So that's, to me, I feel like endurance, because it's going to take a lot to win that race, or even place in the race to begin with. So that's what I think. I think endurance would be the takeaway from black mothers.
Well, thank you for that. That's a wrap, y'all. Be nice in the comments, and thank you again.
Bye.